you guys for being here. We're week 4, January 31st, 2018. This is our 4th training of the year, and today what we're going to be covering is how to price a home, how to accurately complete a comparable market analysis, okay? All right, so how to price a home. CEO mindset, okay? And I use this same slide every single time, at least the title. You are the president of your own company. You are the CEO of You Inc. It's very important that you act that way, okay? Yes, you're a real estate practitioner, but you are your own business. You are your own boss. I need you to act like that, okay? Number 1, they are the client, okay? You are the expert. You need to act like it, okay? That's huge, very, very important. Most people, believe it or not, already know what their estimated value is. They've already done the research. They've gone on Zillow. They've compared, what other properties have sold for. They already have a pretty good idea of what their house is worth. So, really, what they're doing when they ask you, what do you think my house is worth, is they just want to check your competency, right? They want to make sure you know what you're talking about, and on top of that, they want to make sure that they feel comfortable and confident that you guys can sell their home, all right? So, number 1, they know you're the expert, they're the client, act like the expert, and most people already know their own value. A lot of sellers will go out there and they will seek out their own comps. So, if you have a client that says, I feel like my house is worth $150,000 to $200,000 more than that of my neighbors right next door, then what they'll do is they'll go look for those comps to support that value. You're going to have to learn the language and the dialogue to make them understand why they can't use a particular comp. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit, okay? Now, and the same thing happens in other industries, right? There's other websites, okay? Just keep in mind that technology, while it is impacting the way we do business, the truth is that doctors aren't out of business right now, are they? Okay? But there's WebMD, isn't there? Aren't people going onto the internet and checking out their own symptoms, right? People do it all the time. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to go out there and they're going to try to cure themselves. They still got to go out and they still got to see a medical practitioner, okay? So they at the end of the day, they just want to make sure that you are competent and you know what you're doing, all right? It's very, very important. And I'm going to teach you how, as the expert, to gently explain to them why their price is right or why their price is not right, okay? We're not going to say wrong, we're just going to say not right, all right? Now, here are the tools, okay? You're going to need some tools to work on your CMA. Number 1, you're going to need a property profile, right? You're going to need the legal description. You're going to need exactly what the county says a property is. So you need a property profile. You can get that on the MLS in our board. You can get it from Realist, or you can call a title company, right? And you can have the title company deliver to you the property profile so that you know exactly how many bedrooms, how many baths, right? What the square footage of the house is, and what the square footage of the lot is. Okay, the next thing that you're going to need is you're going to need MLS access. Okay, you will need MLS access. Now, as a real estate agent, as a real estate practitioner, that means you have to join the board. That means you have to get your own ID number. That means you have to get your password. These are things that you cannot escape. You have to do these things. Okay. Next thing, you're going to want a title report. And then the other thing that I like to use is I like to use a cloud CMA. Okay? And I'm not saying that you have to do it this way. Just for me, it streamlines the process, and we'll talk about what cloud CMAs are and how to use them a little bit later on. But I use the cloud CMA. It's just very fast for me that way, and then I can email them a link to an online iPad presentation, an online desktop presentation, and it also emails them a PDF presentation. Okay? So those are the tools that you need. Now, 4 of the questions that you have to ask when you're pricing out somebody's home, okay? And these are the questions. Number 1, what is the condition of your home? All right? Now, what do you think everyone's going to say? Oh, it's amazing. Okay, the house is amazing. It's in great condition. So the next question that you're going to ask is, so tell me, will you be making any improvements to it prior to putting it on the market? Okay? Or prior to doing whatever. Because some people might ask for a home value. For what are the reasons you think somebody might be inquiring about a home value if they're not selling it? They might be refinancing it, right? So you could ask that question too. Now, if you could change anything about the house, what would it be? Okay. David and I went to an appointment yesterday, and the minute we walked in, the prospective client basically said to us, we already know some of the things that we want to change to the house. We already know the problems that we have with the house. And I said, save that for a little bit. We're gonna talk about that as well. Okay? Is there anything about the home that you can think of that would deter a buyer? Okay? Now, I was with Alejandro, Alejandro happens to be one of our interns, and we went to a property over in Echo Park, and it's a phenomenal home, except it's right across the street from a rehabilitation center, right? Or a halfway house, okay? And so I said to him, I said, you know, does that have any impact, you think, on what buyers think about the house? And he said, well, sometimes it does, right? Okay. Now, are there any additions that do not show up in the county records? Okay, this is huge, because there are some clients that have built an extra bathroom. They built an extra bedroom. They added some square footage, and it doesn't show up in the county records, right? Because maybe they didn't get the permits to do it, okay? But it's been done in a really workmanlike manner. In other words, it looks like they added the additions, and you would not be able to tell that it is not permitted or not legal, okay? I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying that's wrong. All I'm saying is that the two have to match. So if on the county records it doesn't reflect what you see, you're not going to be able to give value, even though your client is going to push you on that. Well, wait a minute, my house is a 5-bedroom, 3-bathroom home. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I realize that you've made some amazing additions to the home, but on county records right now, it's only reflecting a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, right? So you're not going to be able to give value to those items, okay? It's very, very important that you ask them that. Last question, are there any additions that do not show up in the county records, okay? All right, now, the subject property, okay, this is important, right? Because you need to know about the person's home. So you need to know the square footage, right? And all this stuff you will get on a property profile. You need to know the bedroom count. You need to know the bathroom count, okay? You need to know the lot size. That is important, okay? Does it have a pool, okay? And is it a multifamily home? Okay, now today we're just going to focus on residential single-family residences. And another training we'll do like multifamily, and later on down the road we'll even do commercial. But right now we're just focusing on single-family residences, okay? And I put multifamily there, but that it could also mean that there's a house that might have a guest house, okay? Now if a house has a guest house, keep in mind that that's not 2 units, okay? A single-family residence with a detached guest house is not 2 units, okay? It doesn't have 2 legal addresses. Okay, that's still a single-family residence with a guest house. And that guest house might include the additional square footage, or it should include the additional square footage in the county records. Okay, very important. Yeah?
The guest house has to have the certificate of occupancy?
Well, the certificate of occupancy would be included as a single-family residence. If the guest house had a certificate of occupancy, it would be considered an additional unit.
Okay.
But it's not. Okay? All right, let's go to the next slide. Now, this is important. And again, you guys, I designed these slides and I'm doing these videos so that you don't have to sit here and meticulously take notes, okay? I'm going to be sharing these videos, I'm going to be sharing these slides. So really what I want you to do right now is just lean back, right? And just listen to the information. You're probably not going to get it all at once, and that's okay, all right? Because you're going to have the opportunity to go back and review it again, all right? But these are the general rules, and they're pretty important. Number 1, okay, when you're going to comp out a home and you're going to look at all the comparable sales and all the active listings, right, you want to try to find comparables that are within 45 to 90 days. The more recent, the better. Even the active listings, okay? Even the active listings, you want the more recent ones. Because the ones that have been on the market 180 days clearly show that those properties are off market, right? They're not what the market can bear. So 45 days is your preferred time frame. Try not to go beyond that. In some cases, you will have to when the house is very, very unique, right? If the house is super unique, and what do I mean by unique? That could be 2 different things. That could be a house that's an over-improvement, like a 5,000 square foot house in an area where there's only 2,000 square foot houses. It could also be a 600 square foot house in a 2,000 square foot corner lot in an area where most houses are 1,500 to 2,000 square feet. Okay, so in those cases you may have to expand the search, the time frame, or you may have to expand the radius of a map. But for now, we're just going to assume that this is going to be your run-of-the-mill bread and butter home, 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom, 2-bath, simple. You can find comps pretty easy. Okay, so 45 to 90 days. Then you're going to want to do a radius search. Okay, the closer the comps are, the better they are. Okay, try to keep it very, very close. You want to try to stay within a quarter mile radius if possible, all right? You really shouldn't be going out a full mile radius to find comparables, okay? Now, in some cases you will, again, depending on how unique the home is, but most of the time, I want you within a quarter mile. For single-family residences, you can go out as far as a mile, right, according to appraisal standards. And then for multifamily, you can go out as far as 3 mile. And multifamily is 2 units or above, okay? So, same street is also best, okay? If you got something that's within a quarter mile on the same street, you're gonna use it, okay? That's the best one. If you got a condo, the same building, the same structure is always the best comp. Use the one in the same building, all right? Now, even if there may be a sale, a more recent sale, in another building next door, the best comp is always the one in the same building. Same building will trump, right, a recent sale, okay? As long as it's within a recent time frame, okay? So I guess what I'm trying to say is if you have a condo and there's a comp that sold 6 months ago, but then you have another condo in a different building right next door to it that sold 45 days ago, I'm gonna put more weight on the condo that sold in the same building, okay? Just so you guys know. That doesn't mean I'm not gonna acknowledge the other condo, that just means more weight goes to the same building, okay, for condos. All right, try to keep the year built within 10 years, okay? Really, you wanna keep them relatively close. Don't try not to go beyond 2 years, 10 years. In other words, you don't wanna be comparing a home that was built in 1980 to a home that was built in 1950, you guys, okay? Because then you're gonna have to start making adjustments for the year built, and I don't want you to do that right now, and I'm not really gonna go too deep into how to making adjustments today. But try to keep the year built within 10 years. Avoid adjusting for year built if possible, okay? Now, what if you got a home that was built in 2018, right? And for instance, you're doing research on a home in the Highland Park area, which is known for, its craftsman homes. Then what do? You don't have a choice. You're gonna have to use comparable sales, and you're gonna have to adjust for your build because that's in a neighborhood where most of the homes are turn-of-the-century homes. They're craftsman homes. There's nothing you can do about it, okay? But make that the exception, not the rule, okay? Now, for square footage, okay, you can go 20% up and you can go 20% down, okay? So if the house is 3,000 square feet, that means that you can use a comp that is 3,600 square feet, or you can use a comp that is 2,400 square feet, right? So you can go 20% up, or you can go 20% down, all right? Now, obviously, the closer you can get to same size, the better. So if I've got a house that's 1,500 square feet, I want to try to use comps that are all within about 1,500 square feet, if I can. If you can't, then that's where you start to make some of the adjustments, or that's when you start to expand your radius, or that's when you start to expand your time frame. So instead of 90 days, now you go up to 120 days, okay? So it's always proximity and then time, okay? Try not to cross main streets. So when you're looking for comparables, right, you don't want to cross the main street, okay? Like there's north side and south side. And if the comp is on the south side, then you want to try to look for all the comps on the south side versus, looking for comps that are all on the north side. So if we've got a house up here, you want to try to find the houses around here, not the houses down here, okay? Don't cross main streets. Now, there will be times, again, where you will have to make exceptions. There's nothing that you can do about that, okay? That does happen, all right? Do not cross man-made boundaries. And what do I mean by man-made boundaries? Bridges. Don't use a comp on one side of the bridge and then use another comp on the other side of the bridge. Canals, freeways, don't do that, okay? You want to try to keep everything on the same side if at all possible, all right? And never cross natural boundaries. What do I mean by natural boundaries? Rivers, mountains, hills. You don't want to cross that stuff. Try to keep all the comps on the same side. This is very, very important, okay? You only do that if it's a very unique home and you can't find anything that support the value that you're trying to get. Okay? So, never cross natural boundaries. All right, now, how do you make adjustments? All right? So, for bedrooms, you're going to adjust the value up or down $10,000. For bathrooms, you're going to adjust the values up or down $5,000. Okay? For swimming pools, you're going to make adjustments up or down $30,000. Okay? And again, I'd really rather avoid adjusting for year built. And we're not going to go into too much of adjusting for lot size right now. Okay, we're not going to do that in this training. We'll do that at another time. Really, what I want you to leave here with is $10,000 for bedrooms, $5,000 for bathrooms, and about $20,000 to $30,000 in adjustments for pool. Now, what do I mean adjustments? Okay, this is important. I want you guys to understand something. So, if you have a house, okay, and this house is a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 2 plus 1, and then you have another house over here, and this is a 3+2, but they're both 1,500 square feet. Okay, and this house sold for $500,000. The 3-bedroom, 2-bath sold for $500,000. Now you've got a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, same size square footage, right? And you want to make adjustments here. All right, make sure that you all get this. If this has a if this has an extra bedroom and an extra bath, because it's larger, right? I would then adjust down to match this $10,000, and then I would adjust down for the bathroom. So it's $10,000 for the bedroom and $5,000 for the bathroom. So this price of $500,000 would relatively be about how much? $485, right? Does everybody understand how I adjusted it down? Because this is a smaller sized house. Okay? Now in a competitive market, like the one that we're in, okay, it isn't unheard of for a 2-bedroom, 1-bath to sell for the same price that that 3-bedroom, 2-bath sold, if this condition is significantly better than that one. Okay, I want you guys to be aware of that as well. But I want to teach you how to make adjustments so that you guys know what to adjust for in the event you have to talk to your client. Okay, so let's say I'm sitting down with the client and the client says, well, that 3-bedroom, 2-bath over there sold for $500,000, but mine is significantly nicer. We've remodeled everything inside the house. Okay, well, you still want to make sure that you can demonstrate some competency, right? So you still want to say, well, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, what you're saying is your house is in better condition. Is that right? That's right, okay. Well, if we were to make adjustments for the fact that they had an extra bedroom and an extra bathroom, really I would be adjusting about $15,000 in adjustments, and the price for your home would probably be worth about $485,000. But because of the fact that your home is in such superior condition to that home, I can appreciate why you want to price it for $500,000. Or say, for instance, they say that their house is so superior that they want to price it for $550,000, right? You get what I'm saying? What I'm doing is I'm arming you and preparing you for how you would make the adjustment and say, well, no, I don't recommend us pricing it for $550,000 because you're already going to need to make an adjustment for the extra bedroom and extra bath. So I would feel comfortable saying maybe we could price it at $525,000 to $535,000 or something to that effect. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Right? Okay, so anyway, that's how you make those adjustments. Any questions before I move on the adjustments? Yeah.
Do you ever address the appraisal concern up front with the client when you're discussing pricing?
Yeah, you could. But for the sake of this training, I'm not going to go into it too much. Okay. I'll teach how to handle those kind of objections later on. But yeah, the appraisal does come into play later on. You're absolutely right. Any other questions? Yeah.
This is my personal question. Probably the 3 bedrooms were located close to like a mixed use zone, like a commercial residential. And for me, probably the 2 bedrooms, 1 bath would be most in the residential area, but not too much commercial use.
It depends. That could apply to anything though. Because remember, you could have loft that's in a commercial. You could have a condo that's in a commercial mixed use zone. So it could be both. It could be 3-bedroom, 2-bedroom. It depends. It could be either one. Right now, I just want us to focus on $10,000 for bedroom adjustment, $5,000 for bathroom adjustment. Okay. If you walk out of here with anything, that's key. That's really what I want you to remember. Okay. All right. Oh, and then swimming pool. All right. Now, so how do you price a home? How do you create the CMA? Number one, you need 3 active comps. Okay. A minimum of 3 active comparables. If there aren't enough active comparables, or if they cross boundaries, right? Remember I said avoid crossing boundaries. Then what you can do is you can use pending. You can use pending as an active listing, even though it's in escrow. You can use active under contract or backup comps. So just because something isn't necessarily active, but it's in escrow or it's pending, you can still use those as your 3 active comps, comparables. Everybody with me on that? Okay, so active comps, you need 3, using the general rules that I taught you guys just a short while ago. Okay. Now the next thing that you're going to need is you're going to need sold comps. Okay. So you're going to need 3 sold comparables, and again you're going to start with the closest distance, and you're going to expand out as necessary. Okay. Keep it as close as possible. So now you've got 3 active comps, and you've got 3 sold comps, and essentially the CMA is already done. Okay, it's not that difficult. Okay, doing a CMA is not very difficult at all. All right. So once you've created the CMA, all right, what I like to do, and the reason that I like using Cloud CMA, is because I can copy and paste all of the MLS numbers for the properties that I'm using, right, as my comparables, and then I plug it into Cloud CMA, and then what it does is it creates a template CMA for me. That's the reason that I use Cloud CMA. It saves me a whole bunch of time. Now, if you're not going to do that, then you can create your own template on WordPress. You can download it, on like Word or Google Docs, and you can plug in the comparables however you want to see, however you want to do it, okay? Cloud CMA is free with your MLS membership, so why not use it, you guys? Okay, it's included, all right? So, once you've got your CMA done, what I want you to then do is I want you to send the CMA or a pre-listing package to the client, okay? Don't just send them one sheet with comps. Don't just send them a PDF of comp. Trust me, make it professional, get them a pre-listing package so they can see what you work like. Everything that you do, okay, everything that you do is an indication to them of how you're going to work when and if they hire you. Does that make sense?
Question: you send this, pre-listing package before you got the appointment or after you got the appointment?
I confirm with them when I speak to them on the phone. That's typically before I have the appointment. I send them everything. Yeah, unless they say, look, I want to know what my house is worth. I send them all that stuff. I send them all that.
So you haven't confirmed. I'll see you tomorrow at 4.
If I've confirmed the appointment, then I definitely send them.
But
I'm sending them that stuff either way.
Without appointment date.
Appointment or no appointment doesn't matter. If they ask me for the value of their home, I'm sending them all that information.
Got it.
Everything. Yeah. Okay.
Trying to run your business.
Yeah. And again, I'm assuming that I'm going to get their business, okay? So let's talk about some of the follow-up objections that you guys are going to encounter when you're working and when you send them the CMA or pre-listing package. When you send them this stuff, get ready because you're going to get these questions. Mark my words, okay? Number one, another agent said that they could get me a higher price, okay? How are we going to handle that objection, you guys?
Can I see their comps? Do you mind if I see their comps?
Good, right? Okay, now remember, repeat, approve, right? And confirm. Oh, I see. So Mr. and Mrs. Seller, what you're saying then is that another agent got you higher comparables. Is that correct? Yes. Fantastic. You know what? And assume responsibility. Then maybe there's something that I missed here. I'll tell you what. Could you send me those comparables so that I can review them personally? What do you think's going to happen?
So I don't have the comps.
They won't send you the comps because most of the agents didn't give them those comps, right? Most agents. I'm not saying that they didn't. But, it's all verbal. Most agents will tell them, oh, I can get you a much higher price.
Sure.
Send me the comparables.
That's for them to get the listing.
Right, okay. Yeah.
I would say, yes, most of the agents say that they can get you a better price or higher price because they want to get the listing and later on they will come back to you with a reduction.
Absolutely. Now, we know that, right? But remember that if we say something,
Negative.
it's not true.
Right.
But if they say it, it's true. So Mr. or Mrs. Seller, what you're saying then is that another agent said that he or she could get you a higher price. Is that correct? Yes. I got them to say yes. Remember, we want to condition them to saying yes. Yes. Okay, great. Well, I'll tell you, there's something that I must have missed here. I'm sure that there's a comparable that I didn't find. Help me out here. Can you get me a list of the comparables that other agent used so that I can review them myself? And chances are they're not going to have it because the other agent didn't give it to them, so now we're back to that other conversation. So they're going to say, well, he didn't leave me or she didn't leave me with the list of those comparables. Oh, I see, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. So what you're saying then is that the agent that you were talking to, who said they could get you a higher price, didn't leave you the comparables, justifying that they could do that. Is that right? Yes, that's right. Okay, so how are they going to get you a higher price than Mr. and Mrs. Seller? And then now look what conversation I've engaged in. Okay? The key here is you don't want to be so much on the defense. Okay? Most of us feel like we're constantly on the defense. When I speak, I'm not on the defense. Because what I'm doing is I'm constantly asking them questions, which, by the way, this is all common knowledge. A lot of you guys already know this stuff and you think it in your head, but you just don't know how to phrase it right. And so sometimes, like me in the beginning, I would phrase it in a way that almost came off offensive. Right? I'm teaching you how to phrase it in the form of a question so that you're saying what you need to say, but they're confirming, not you. You guys got that? Huge. Okay? Commission's too high. Oh, I got your pre-listing package. Oh, I got the CMA, but I see that your commission is way too high. You want to charge me 6% commission. I got another agent that's going to do it for 4%. How do you guys handle that? Now, by the way, this is over the phone. It's not in person yet. In person, I would handle it different. But this is over the phone. You're reconfirming the fact that you're going to go visit them now after they've got the CMA.
So what you're telling me, Mr. and Mrs. Sorry.
No, but
What you're telling me, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, is that you found an agent that's willing to take less commission.
That's right. Yeah, 4%.
Okay, you know what? I'll make a mental note, and that's the first thing we'll discuss once we have an appointment. It's Friday or Saturday, good.
Absolutely.
First thing
So
was-
David and I were in the car yesterday. Oh, and disclaimer, if any of you drive with me in the car, I'm gonna tape you and we're gonna be coaching and role playing in the car, just so you know. Okay? All right, so, yeah, so if somebody says, well, I have another agent that'll do it for 4%. I'm not gonna debate commissions over the phone. I'm not gonna fight with them over the phone about commissions. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, what you're saying then is that you have an agent that would be willing to do it at 4%, is that correct? Yes, that's correct. Fantastic, I'm gonna make a mental note that you don't wanna pay more than 4%, and we'll discuss it when we get there. So is Thursday good or Friday better? And then you reconfirm the appointment. Don't debate it, not over the phone, it's not worth it. You'll lose the client. Okay, it's not, you're trying to like justify value when you haven't really even gone there and made contact with them. There's no rapport yet. Yeah,
A lot of times it's not even a real objection, it's just, they're just making a statement to just test you.
that's right. Okay? All right, I don't want to commit to a 6-month listing because I want you to put on your listing agreement 6 months if you're sending them a pre-listing package. 6 months. Okay? Yeah, I don't want to commit myself to a 6-month listing. How do you guys handle that?
Let's talk about when we meet.
Good, okay. Well, you're on the right track, right? Repeat, approve, confirm. Oh, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, so what you're saying then is that you don't want to commit to a 6-month listing. Am I understanding you correctly? Yes, that's right. I don't want to commit to a 6-month listing. I see. And really, listen, help me understand why you don't want to commit to something so long, 6 months. And then they'll tell you why. Well, I don't really know you, and I don't want to keep it on the market for 6 months. And then what we're going to do is we're going to flip it on them. You're absolutely right. And you know, at first, I was a little hesitant about using a 6-month listing as well, because I wasn't sure that I wanted to commit myself to a property that couldn't sell. So when I get there, let's make sure we talk about the price, because really what's most important is the price, right? And then once we come to an agreement on the price, we can talk about the
So that's your
6-month listing.
bargaining chip to get the price.
Right, because at the end of the
Effectively,
day, who cares if it's a 6-month or an 18-month listing if they want to price it for $1 million, right? You know, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I was hesitant too because I didn't want to obligate myself to a listing that's not going to sell, right? Nobody wants to work for free. So when I get there, as opposed to us talking about the 6-month listing, let's make sure that we can agree on a price that makes sense to you and on a price that's going to cause it to sell. And then we can talk about the 6 months. How does that sound? So is Thursday good or Friday better? Which is better for you? You guys see that?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So you need to know how to handle these objections. Okay? And David asked me this question yesterday in the car. He was like, how long did it take you to get that way? Truth was, it was about 4 to 6 months of me just constantly listening to these things over and over and over and over again, and listening to audios and looking and watching myself in the mirror and then reading them to myself, and then every time. This is what you're going to have to do. Okay? Because at the end of the day, the better you get at your dialogue, the more confident you'll be. There isn't a person alive that I can't sit in front of that I wouldn't know how to have a conversation with when it comes to real estate. Now, if we're going to talk about something else, so that's different, right? But it's because I internalized those scripts, and you're going to have to do the exact same thing. I'm telling you that right now. This business isn't that hard. You just got to know what to say and how to handle it. This is all common sense stuff, you guys. Okay, common sense. All right, I think at that point, it's just Q&A now. So unless you guys have any additional questions, doing the CMA is not that difficult, right? The minute somebody says to you, what is my house worth, right? So you want to know what your house is worth, is that correct? Yes. Well, here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to get you a professional CMA so that you can review all that information. What's your email address, and then just get them the information. Okay? And then you work on the CMA and then you get it. Now, here's what will happen. Sometimes as you're out there talking to people and as you're on the phone and you're prospecting, you'll be talking to someone and someone's going to say, tell me what my house is worth, and then you're going to drop everything that you're doing and you're going to work on a CMA for them. Okay? Don't do that. Okay? When you're in prospecting mode, okay, when you're going out there and you're making your phone calls, when you're talking to people and you're door knocking, right? Think of it like this. If you're at a networking event, right, and you're going out there and you're talking to people and you're handing out your business cards, and somebody says, I've always wanted to know what my house is worth. You wouldn't stop what you're doing at the networking event, pull out the laptop and start working on the CMA right then and there with them in front of them, right? You wouldn't do that. Okay, think of it the same way when we're working. When we're working, don't stop everything you're doing just to work on a CMA, no matter how excited you might be, right? Just because somebody says, find out how much my house is worth. Finish what you're working on, which is client acquisition, and then when you're done later on in the day, you want to go out and you want to send out your CMAs, drop it off, mail it, email, whatever it is that you want to do. Okay? For me, when I was building my business, and I still am, from 9 to 12 are my prospecting hours, and from 5 to 8. Between 1 and 4 is when I did everything else. That's when I was going out there and doing my marketing. That's when I was working on my CMAs. That's when I was dropping them off. But remember that in the beginning, right, to get the ball rolling, we are in 2 phases. There's phase 1, which is what I call client acquisition mode, and then there's phase 2, which is where you start to manage what's going on. And that's where you're managing a team and you're managing the volume of business. Right now, for most of you, you guys are in phase 1. Phase 1 is client acquisition. Most of your time should be spent on acquiring clients, getting clients, getting clients, getting clients, getting clients. Okay? Trust me, this is where you want to be when you're building the business in the beginning. Okay? Any other questions about CMAs or conversations or how to make adjustments?
Condition, when do you address that with the client? Because obviously with the CMA, you never seen the inside of the house.
Okay, so better or worse condition?
Both?
Okay, good. So, but that's more for the listing presentation,
Okay.
not the CMA,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Because, and we'll have a training on a listing presentation and how to get them to understand how to make adjustments for the condition. But when I'm just doing a CMA or pre-listing package, yeah, I'm not gonna really get into the condition right then and there, not there, too early. Yeah.
How do you respond to a client questioning your experience as an agent?
Okay, good question. All right, so David and I talked about this in the car yesterday. They won't question your experience unless you do something that makes them question your experience. As far as they know, you're the woman or the man, okay? You are. But the problem is we go over there and we do this, we talk. We talk. We think, you guys, we think that when we show up, we're supposed to talk about ourselves, and we need to tell them how wonderful we are, our education, you know, how many houses we've sold, kids, your family, and we think it's all about us, and we think they want to hear that. They don't care. They really don't care, okay? Here's the thing. If they want the house sold, they want you to get them the best price, period. That's all they want. Think of it this way. If you're sick and you go see a doctor, you don't ask the doctor his or her education, you don't ask the doctor how many surgeries they performed, you don't ask that stuff. You go in there and your mentality is, you know what, I'm in pain, fix me. That's your mentality, right?
Yes.
See, but for some reason our industry has gotten plagued by people that want to go into appointments and they want to do the dance. They want to dance like we're chimps. Like we're supposed to go there and we're supposed to tell them how wonderful we are and how many houses we sold. Look, I'm not going to tell you any of that. I can sell the house. I know what to do. Sign right here. That's my mentality. When I walk in, that's my mentality. Not anymore. And by the way, you guys, I'm teaching you this confidence, but it took me 15 years to get that. Please don't take as long as I did. Okay? I'm sharing this with you. You could rely on my strength. I wish somebody had taught me this 15 years ago. Because I can't tell you the number of listings I didn't get because I walked in and I was doing the dance. Feeling like I had to justify myself. To answer, I'm going to get to you right now. To answer your question, they don't know that how long you've been in the business unless you say something that causes them to feel not comfortable with who you are. So here's the trick. Don't talk so much. Go in and ask questions. Ask more questions than you talk, and they'll never doubt your experience.
Nice, okay. Thanks, Paul.
Sounds good.
That was it? Yeah. You need to be going into your presentations asking questions, not talking. Don't talk. David, how many questions was I asking yesterday when we went to our presentation? That's all I did was ask
You asked
questions.
more questions than they did.
That's it. Tell me about the roof. Tell me about the solar panels. Tell me about the HOA fee. Who pays for that? Who handles the gardening on the outside?
And we're going back on Monday too.
And we're going back on Monday. I ask questions. I don't go in doing the dance anymore. Nobody's throwing popcorn at me so I can eat it. You know what? The old monkey with the box? No more. All right? And I want you guys to have that confidence. Really, that's what I want. Because you shouldn't have to go through as many years as I went through to figure this out. Yeah.
Now, I get that 100%, you walk into a confidence, you're not talking about yourself, you're trying to get them to be the focus of your attention.
Exactly.
Their client.
Right.
And you want them to feel comfortable and all there. But where do you distinguish between trying to build a relationship with them and, hey, who pays, how much are the HOA fees? Hey, who does this? Hey, who does that? In comparison to build that relationship so later on down the line.
So it's all about the way you preface the way you walk in. So when you walk in and you say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, listen, you're going to give me a tour of the home and we're going to talk about the home. I'm going to ask you quite a few questions. But the questions that I ask, they're going to help me better assess how I'm going to market this property. So forgive me if it feels like I'm going to ask you like 15, 20 questions, but just understand that I'm asking them so that way I know what I'm doing. See, you preface it, they don't question it. Okay.
Yeah, because I'm not trying to come off as an arrogant.
No, you don't want to be arrogant.
You know?
You don't want to be arrogant. And don't get me wrong, I don't walk in thinking I'm the man. Like, I genuinely care about people, but at the same time, I'm not going to allow someone to make me feel like I'm any less professional than some of the other careers that are out there. And a lot of times they want to treat us like, we're a dime a dozen and I can get anybody. That's why.
Gotcha.
So setting the tone is very important.
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah.
That's why you set the tone early.
Yeah.
Right? That's why you do this stuff. Everything you do is an indication of what you're going to do to market their home. Aaron and I were talking about this yesterday with that listing. You get one listing, that one listing you get, what you guys don't realize is some people want to treat it, and I'm not saying you do this, but I'm saying some people want to treat it like, it's a mobile home in Palmdale for $25,000. So they don't care, they don't market it right, they don't take good pictures, they don't use good copy, they don't use a good description. And they think like, it's no big deal, it's a vacant lot, what do I care, right? But what they don't realize is that everything you do right now is a resume for the next client that is thinking about hiring you to sell their property. And if